We've talked about the nose, we've talked about the mouth, we've talked about the lungs, we've talked about how to breathe light, slow and deep with our functional pattern breath like A, B and C. One of the things that we haven't talked about is the muscular system around the respiratory system. The respiratory system, the lungs themselves, are like airbags. They will fill whatever space we afford them, which is why we have to retain this positive posture while we're breathing and as much as we can throughout the day. However, there are some muscles involved in breathing. There are intercostal muscles across the chest, between the ribs, and there's also the diaphragm. You may have heard of it. We're going to talk about the diaphragm in more detail. The diaphragm is like a parachute. It extends across the body. It separates out the cardiovascular system from all of the digestive system. But more importantly, it creates a greater space for the lungs to expand into. So as it contracts down, the space of my lungs increases, the volume capacity of my lungs increase, and then as it relaxes, the space decreases. This is a muscle, and like any other muscle, I can train it. So this is something that we pay particular attention to in breath training. So I'm going to teach you a breath work exercise. I'm not suggesting this one's easy. This one's quite a challenge, but it's going to help train this muscle. So let's get into it. Imagine yourself as a 3-story building. In and around your belly is the first story. This is the second story here by my sternum, and the third is up here by the top of my chest. Place your hand on your belly and see by taking big breaths if you can get a bit of expansion in there. Now it's quite easy for me to get some expansion into this part of my body. There's nothing skeletal restricting it. It's easy for me to breathe here. If I move my hand up to my sternum, up here by the logo on my t-shirt, you can see that even breathing deeply, it's quite hard to get more than a couple of inches of expansion there. I can definitely feel I'm activating my abdominals to be able to do so. And then if I move my hand finally to the top of my chest, it's really difficult and I'm having to pull all through my abdomen up through my chest to get some expansion at the top of the chest. So just have a feel of those 3 and then we'll prepare to do the breath. During this breath, we're going to activate the pelvic floor. So we're going to clench all the muscles of the groin and we're going to bring the breath up as if it's a lift in this 3-story building. So I'm going to bring it up under control and then I'm going to let it back down, but under control. I'm not just going to drop the lift at the top with a lazy exhalation. I'm going to do it under control to bring the lift back down. So all the time, I've activated the pelvic floor, the muscles in my groin. I'm going to bring the breath up as if it's coming from my stomach. I'm going to bring it to the top, maybe hold for a couple of seconds, and then I'm going to drop back, but under control. We'll do this 2 or 3 times, and you'll begin to feel a tension in the lower part of your body. Let's do this now. So it's all through the nose, by the way. So inhale. Bring the pressure up, 1, 2, 3, hold at the top, 2, 1, drop down, 2, 1, and relax. You need to do this 4 or 5 times, so activate the pelvic floor, bring it up, 1, 2, 3, hold for a couple of seconds, and under control, bring it down, 2, 1, relax. Inhale through the nose, activate the pelvic floor, bring it up. 3, 2, 1. Exhale, down, back through the body. You'll begin to feel a little bit of fatigue across the abdomen in the diaphragm. If you remember the science video, there's a link for that now. You'll remember that when we have oxygen in the system, we breathe aerobically, but when we have less or limited oxygen for the demand of the muscle, for example, we begin to breathe anaerobically, and the byproduct of that is lactic acid and hydrogen, and that creates this feeling of fatigue. The good news is that as the muscle recovers, whether it's the diaphragm or any muscle, but as the muscle recovers, we increase blood flow to this part of the body so that in future there'll be a greater supply of oxygen when we put the muscle under tension. The other thing is, like any muscle that's being exercised, we're pulling the fibers apart, but when they contract, when they recover, they contract. So we can actually strengthen the muscle overall in time. This is particularly important if the muscle has been stretched, and that may happen in pregnancy, or it may happen in menopause or perimenopause. So it's important for us all to train the diaphragm. It's especially important for females. So just to remind you of that breath, you activate the pelvic floor, you inhale and you bring the breath up the 3 compartments, you hold at the top, and then under control, you bring the breath down. You'll feel it when you've got the burn in and around your stomach area. Remember, the diaphragm is the only muscle that you're able to train to improve the diaphragmatic system. I'd suggest doing this for 5 minutes a day, as often as you remember to do so. I hope you enjoyed this class. If you have any questions at all, please put it in the comments below this video, or you can contact me at Matt Bagwell on Instagram, or you can email me, matt@mattcoaching. Both of those links are in the show notes below. I also do free classes that you can join me for on Instagram, 7 a.m. on a Monday, 7 a.m. on a Friday, and 8:30 p.m. on a Sunday evening. I look forward to seeing you soon.